I just found that so funny. He's like, come on, you remember how well we used to work? Look at the past. He's like, all right, let's go, and then instantly Owens just turns on him.
To Owens' credit, he said, just like the good old days. That was very reminiscent of the good old days.
Yeah. And so then all of them kind of get to work, and then finally Uso comes out.
Right.
And so now you have all 5 men in, and so now it's just a free-for-all.
And I'm really surprised that Baron Corbin was out so early if the plan was to have 5 guys in there at once.
Yeah. But
they didn't eliminate anyone else up until this point, which is wild.
Yeah. And then a bit after Uso comes out, that's when Zayn gets eliminated by Owens.
Yes, he does.
And then, a bit more battling, but then Owens gets out by Uso. Just essentially, I think it was like almost immediately after Zayn went on, and that's because the door to the chamber was open, and Uso gets Owens, throws him where the door is supposed to close, and just starts and essentially traps his arm in there with the door.
I mean, this is a big old chain link door, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he just has his arm trapped there. He starts super kicking him, and then finally hits him with a splash to eliminate Owens, which caught me a bit by surprise. But then I remembered, obviously I think they might be building towards an Uso-Owens feud at this point.
Mm-hmm.
At least so. Hopefully that distracts Owens from going after Reigns.
Yeah.
And then I think the biggest surprise to everyone, essentially, because, it kind of makes sense, but I saw a lot of people were surprised that Cesaro was out fourth, leaving Uso and Bryan to battle it out.
I kind of thought that if he wasn't the first one out or the second, like if he outlasted Owens, I've heard a lot of good things about what's going on SmackDown. Yeah, I have thought, you know what? I could see Cesaro winning this thing and then losing to Roman Reigns, the bear at the end of the marathon, really quickly. But yeah, I was real bummed for the guy.
Yeah.
Because he looked so good throughout this match.
Yeah, Cesaro looked really good, but it's down to Uso and Bryan, and they start going at it a bit, but Bryan prevails.
Yes, he does.
And I think commentary team even said something about, you might think Reigns might not be too happy about that, which it seems like it's commonplace every time something happens with Jay. Like, if he loses something or something, they immediately bring up, how's Roman going to react?
Sure, right.
But so Bryan wins it, and I like immediately you see like he's not even moving after the thing is done, and out comes Roman
in the mat. Yeah,
yeah, and they essentially pulled Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan at Survivor Series 2018 here, because you instantly think, it's just gonna be a squash, but then immediately, as soon as Roman tries to go for the spear, as soon as Daniel Bryan stands up, Bryan counters it into the yes lock.
Mm-hmm.
And you immediately see that Roman is immediately just struggling, and like commentary is really trying to play up that Daniel Bryan might get him here.
Yeah.
But Roman just counters it, starts beating on him, and then puts him in the guillotine, I believe.
Yes, he does.
And Bryan passes out, which means Roman wins and retains his Universal title.
The match was about as quick as that description. But that initial yes lock, the reversal from the spear into the yes lock, it got me. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I saw it and I'm like, they're not going to do it, are they? Because, again, like we mentioned on Vengeance Day, it was a thing of, it's a weird place for title changes, especially with WrestleMania around the line. I was like, are they really going to do it? Like, I was like, I don't think they'll do it. And that's when I saw Reigns got out of it. I'm like, okay, yeah, here we go. And when I saw that Bryan passed out, like he didn't submit, so immediately I in my notes I put a setting up for Mania question mark, because I instantly thought, is it going to be the whole storyline of Daniel Bryan didn't tap, so he needs another opportunity against Roman?
Yeah, can you beat me fresh?
Yeah,
can you beat me healed at 100%?
Yeah, and then in my notes here, immediately after that, I put, never mind, because as soon as Roman gets up and celebrates, turns around to a spear by Edge.
You don't even get a chance to finish typing WrestleMania before Roman Reigns eats a spear of his own.
Yeah, and basically, if that wasn't clear enough that Edge had made his decision on who he's challenging because from winning the Royal Rumble, he points at WrestleMania while looking at Roman or at the WrestleMania sign.
Yep.
To let Reigns know that it's going to be the two of them.
Jack, you remember when Ronda Rousey made her debut at Royal Rumble?
Yes.
Do you remember, like, her point at the WrestleMania sign?
Yes.
I saw it. I reacted the way that I did, but I was so surprised at how much fun people were having at it, and it was so unnatural. You know what I mean? It was like, how could you mess up something so simple? Yeah. How did you make that look so weird and forced, and you held it for too long? And what kind of direction were you given in that very simple moment? I was reminded of that yesterday.
Yeah, and the funniest thing to me about that was that Ricardo messaged me because he was also watching, and he goes, "Why was there fireworks?" Because you see the pyro go off as soon as he points at the sign, and we were just joking around that, man, Edge must have let the pyro guy know what was going on and paid him to set those up for when it happens.
No, he just pointed so ferociously. He summoned them. It was like such a violent point. It was like, why do I have so much to say about a point? But like, as he got up from the spear, his arm almost flew out of its socket. He was like, gritting his teeth.
Oh man! But so it's now set up: Edge versus Reigns for the Universal title at WrestleMania. No doubt going to be either night's main event. I'm more leaning towards it's probably going to be night 2's main event.
Yeah, because Edge is like such a high profile, superstar of yesteryear.
Yeah. But so, next, the United States Championship triple threat between champion Bobby Lashley, Matt Riddle, and John Morrison.
Yep.
And, it was pretty good for what it was.
Yeah.
Especially seeing as how, what type of mid-card title matches we've gotten in the past, really good, really fast-paced. They let Lashley dominate a lot while also letting Morrison and Riddle do a lot of their moves to get them some shine.
Yeah, I thought Bobby looked real good in this match. And, it's always fun to watch John Morrison and Riddle, realize that it's going to be easier to take down Bobby Lashley if they work together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not enough wrestlers do that in situations like this. Sami Zayn had the idea. Kevin Owens just wasn't up for it.
Yeah. But I really love the closing sequences of this match, which was, you see Riddle, I believe he hit it was either he hit I forgot what he did. I think he hit Lashley with the knee, which gets him down. But then Morrison takes him out and goes and hits him with the Starship Pain.
Right.
And then Bobby kicks out at 2. And I just really love that. Morrison's sitting there like, dang, that didn't get him. And then as soon as he's you think that's what he's thinking, MVP starts talking to him and goes, did you really think that was going to put Bobby Lashley away? And Morrison just looks at him and goes, will you shut up?
Yeah, I like that self-awareness. MVP is so good out there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and it was made even funnier when Morrison goes out to confront him, and MVP's saying, "What are you gonna do, huh? What are you gonna do?" And then Morrison takes his crutch, and he just goes, "Hey, man, hey."
Yes.
He's like, "I'm not the one you want to mess with." And that's when, Morrison looks at the crutch, realizes it's a triple threat, no DQ. He tries to go hit Lashley with it, who gets him in the full Nelson. But because he's distracted, Morrison's in the lock, so he drops the crutch. And then Riddle comes, grabs the crutch, and MVP's trying to warn Bobby, but I guess he can't hear him or he's too focused on the lock. Gets hit with the crutch, and essentially gets whacked with it about 3 times. That's enough to knock him to the outside for Riddle to hit the Bro Derek on John Morrison for the 1-2-3 and a new champion.
Yeah. New United States champion. I like that Lashley and MVP were mid-conversation during the pin. You know?
Yeah.
Like, the MVP might have been checking in on Bobby. They might have been arguing about something. But, like, for them to have been literally distracted mid-pin, I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, and, you know, I somewhat expected it just because it seems like they've really been trying to push Bobby now towards, again, the main event scene.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because people will hear that and they'll say, well, didn't you just say this is such an awkward time for championships to change? But I more so mean the world titles and like the women's titles.
Yeah, I hope you didn't have a big lunch, Jack, because you're about to eat those words in about 30 minutes, aren't you? But yeah. I was surprised. You know, I have my feelings about championship matches in the winter, and to see Riddle not have a first name but have a title, that's something neat. That's really neat.
Yeah, you know, and the only reason I kind of expected was because, again, like, I don't keep up with Raw, I don't, like, watch Raw, but I keep up with it to know stuff. And right. I've seen that they've been kind of essentially building to Riddle dethroning Bobby. And, you know, they keep Bobby strong because he didn't take the pin.
Right.
And, you know, we've kind of seen more mid-card and tag titles change in this area of the year, so that's why, you know, it's kind of more expected, like, oh, if a title changes here, they'll make sense of it, and especially in time for a Mania feud. And I think that's why I'm not too mad with the title change, because hopefully with Riddle, they let him go off into a bunch of different matches and feuds with different guys and really essentially revitalize the division.
Yeah, you know, just freshen things up. Once another guy has the title, you know, there's a whole bunch of matchups that are possible, which is neat.
Well, so, really good. And next is the women's tag title match.
Goodness gracious. You want to talk about whether or not a championship is in turmoil. Jack. I watched NXT right before Elimination Chamber. I caught up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, why did we have a women's tag team championship match pitting the champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus SmackDown Women's Champion Sasha Banks and the number one contender for that title, Bianca Belair, when just 4 days ago, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler were very clear that on March 3rd, they're defending those titles against the Dusty Cup winners in Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. That was a lot of names for folks who were following along. We got champions defending their belts now, but they're supposed to defend them in about a week.
And I'll make it even more confusing. On an episode of Raw, they had a number one contenders match for those tag titles, which was won by, I believe it was Naomi and Lana. So they're technically number one contenders. But
what?
Raquel and Dakota are technically number one contenders. But yet, Sasha and Bianca, who haven't really tag teamed before, are facing them in a title match on the pay-per-view.
I wish audio podcast listeners could see me, like, just throw a fit. Just throw a fit in my chair trying to make this make sense.
Yeah. And, you know, it's a lot of reasons why you'll see people wanting Dakota and Raquel to win it, just because not only, like, will they probably be able to take it to all three brands, but they'll at least be able to make sense out of the division.
We can make sense of it with Shayna and Nia, but make it make sense.
Yeah. You know, but...
So, we had a SmackDown hodgepodge team fight last night. We have an NXT team in the wings, and we have a Raw team that we completely forgot.
Yeah. I mean, other than that...
What did you think of the match, Jack? Why were Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks so hell-bent on winning these titles? One of them has a title, and one of them has a title that... One of them wants the title that the other one has.
Yeah, like, it just didn't make sense to me. And I was really scared that they were going to have them win the titles, because then I was like, oh no, they're gonna give them the titles just so they can create a storyline out of it. Like, they lose them, so Bianca then challenges Sasha for her title because it was her fault that they lost those titles.
It doesn't. It doesn't work when they've been a team for 4 days.
I